We got the Blue Jays taking on the Guardians, Twins at Detroit, the Cardinals taking on the Rays, the Tampa, and then the Rockies facing off against the Dodgers. We also have two props coming your way here, so make sure you stay tuned. And joining me, I got Bryan Power, Tokyo Brandon, and Adam Trigger. You know them, you love them. You want to show them a little love? Give them a like. Hit the subscribe button here on WagerTalk TV. Gentlemen, let's get right into it for the day game show and talk a little Blue Jays and Guardians with my man Bryan Power. Total in this one sitting a little high, around 9.5. It's looking like on the WagerTalk odds screen here. So, Bryan, is that a hair too high, or is this thing soaring over? What do you think?
Well, Dan, I'm going to this game, as a matter of fact, in a couple hours. And long time, let's tie one on Getaway Day. What do you say? But as longtime followers know, when I go to a baseball game, it stays under the total. As a matter of fact, when I go to any game, it stays under the total. I've gone to 5 Guardians games this year. All of them have gone under. They're all day games. 4 college basketball games I went to. 3 of them were with Trig. Those all went under. So I have a 9-game in-person under streak going, Dan. And certainly what we've seen the last 3 days from these teams would lend itself to the under, right? You remarked that total seems a little high. Well, of course it does when the 2 teams have combined for 6 total runs the last 3 days. 3-1 on Monday. All those runs come in the last 2 innings. And then we've got a pair of 1-0 games each of the last 2 days. Guardians win despite only 3 hits on Tuesday. Toronto wins 1-0 last night. The lone run scored in the first inning. What did I say Tuesday on this show? There is no park in baseball that features fewer runs per game than Progressive Field. Just an average of 7.5 per game there. They are the constant in the equation with these unders that I'm seeing in person. They're dead last in baseball in home runs. Now, the reason the total's high and the old fly in the ointment, I suppose, is the pitching matchup. We got Manoah and Syndergaard. But as maligned as Manoah has been this year, he's not been half bad his last 3 starts. He's allowed just 7 runs and 16 1/3. Syndergaard wasn't bad his first time out for Cleveland. He did get rocked last time, gave up 4 home runs to the White Sox of all teams. But I do think this total is too high. Toronto, they're splits. They're much better against lefties than righties on the road. Syndergaard is a righty. And then this Cleveland lineup, again, I can't keep harping how weak it is. They're without Naylor. Who knows what's going on with this Jose Ramirez appeal of the suspension, but he was 0 for 4 yesterday. So I do think the total is too high. Let's keep the in-game under streak going. Not under 9.5 is how I would lean on this one.
Bryan, I really thought out of the gate you were just going to be like, when I go to games, they go under. That's my handicap. I was like, all right, at least he added a little bit more to that. I thought you were just going to leave it at that here. And that would have been a power move. I'll give you that.
They do tell me to keep the analysis brief, but yes, I thought that would have been shortchanging the audience. So no, I had to give some actionable info in addition to that. Just, I'm standing there. I don't think is good enough for the people listening, although it should be.
I appreciate that, Bryan. And you can hop below in the comments. Does the streak continue? Let us know. Yes or no. And also, what do you think about that total? 9.5 in the Blue Jays Guardians. Which way are you going? Bryan Power says it's staying under. All right, a little prop time. Tokyo Brandon's got 2 of them coming your way here today. So I guess let's start off with the game we're going to be hearing about in best bets from our man Adam Trigger. This Rays and Cards game, you don't want to mess with the side. You don't want to mess with the total. You got a prop for the folks, Brandon. What do we got?
Yeah, the pitcher props have been going pretty well for me lately. And today, Zach Littell is going for the Rays. And I took a look at his props for outs recorded. Now, outs recorded is a really interesting prop because you can bet on whether a pitcher will last long into the game or not go so deep. Usually the outs are, 15.5, 16.5, 17.5. So Littell is interesting because he started the season as a relief pitcher, and obviously that skews his average because he was only pitching 1.2, 2.2 innings per game, but they've converted him to a starter. And he's made 2 starts, one against the Astros and one against the Tigers. But even though one start he went 5 innings, one start he went 6 innings. But even though he has gone, 6 innings into a game, he pitched 6 innings in 74 pitches because that's just because the Tigers are pathetic. Against the Astros, they took him out after 5 innings, and he was on 82 pitches in that game. So even though he is converted to a starter, they're keeping his pitch count really low. So the outs prop for this is 15.5. So what does that mean? It means he has to make one pitch into the 6th inning, because 15 outs is 5 innings. He has to record one out in the 6th inning, and he's only done that one time against the aforementioned Tigers. Today he's going up against the Cardinals, and he has an awful, awful history against the Cardinals. He has an awful history, especially against Goldschmidt and Contreras. Now Goldschmidt has been a little cold. He went 1-4 yesterday, but he smacks the heck out of Littell here. He's 5 for 6, and he's got an OPS of 2.357. So Littell actually in 30 at bats against the Cardinals, his OPS against is 1.221, which is awful. So I don't think he's going to make it into the 6th inning. So I really like the Zach Littell outs recorded under 15.5. It's a 3% client play that I put out, and it's available at DraftKings right now.
Great breakdown there from a man, Tokyo Brandon. It's not just $9 Asian baseball plays every day. Breaking down some pitcher props for you here on First Pitch. All right, Trig, you want to go a little bit more traditional, and we'll talk a little Tigers and Twins. I know that one of your favorite things added to your handicapping portfolio has been finding value on the run lines. Is that what we're doing in this one?
Yeah, and it's gone well for me this week so far. I mean, I'm 3-1 in my last 4 Major League Baseball plays, and 2 of them landed 1, right? So I had the +1.5. The Rockies yesterday cashed +1.5. They got walked off, but they still covered. The Diamondbacks the night before, I kind of feel like I deserve to go 4-0. I feel like I deserved Diamondbacks last night when they kind of choked it away in the 8th inning. But so again, I think the value here, and especially I haven't bet this for clients yet, but I'm also monitoring the line movement. So it feels like the Twins are getting bet up at this point. And I mean, if this keeps sort of trending in that direction and suddenly that +1.5 becomes more affordable, I may jump in with it because, and I've talked about this on shows this week. I like how like in general, Dan, how the Tigers match up with this Twins team. So, you know, I've actually bet 2 of the games in this series. I took a loss on Monday in a game where Joey Wentz just got demolished. It was the game never even got out of the gate, if you will, before the Tigers were already down 7-0. And, you know, Wentz is a guy that's kind of gotten pummeled at this level all year. And I sort of said, all right, I'd be willing to come back with them the next 2 days. I cashed with a 4%er on Tuesday, didn't come back yesterday, but the Tigers won both of those games. And again, I think it just goes back to the fact that they match up well with the Twins, 6-4 against them now this year. As far as this matchup's concerned, I still think that the Tigers, you know, come out and probably play good baseball today. This is probably the most meaningful series the Tigers have had in years. Actually, it is. Because if they were to win today and they can get out by taking 3 or 4 from the Twins, they are still at least somewhat in the mix in this division, which is about as good as you can say for the Tigers in any of their last few years coming into what's now like the second week in August. So a massive game for the Tigers from that standpoint. And the offense is finally coming around a little bit. That was kind of the knock on the Tigers so far this season. But yesterday, Spencer Torkelson, 2 home runs, right? Like, you know, he's kind of the guy that, you know, really has the most potential, in my opinion, in that lineup. If he were to start to hit, who knows? Like that the Tigers could take a step forward offensively. Riley Green missed a bunch of time. You know, he's back now. Last 20 games, he's hitting like 310, 320. Kind of, you know, it's been a big part of their offense. So, you know, 9 runs yesterday, and you see the Tigers starting to score a little bit. 6 runs the day before. Both sort of buy signs for me in regards to the Tigers as a team in general. Now, the Twins, interestingly enough, the reason the Twins were kind of so good or what sort of made their team the first half of the season was the starting pitching. And it's actually been, despite their sort of little win streak coming into this week, the starting pitching has been surprisingly poor out of the break. You go back the last 27 games, their team ERA, as far as starting pitching is concerned, is almost 5. It's 4.98. And even though one of the good ones has been Kenta Maeda, I mean, he's someone that I've kind of been willing to fade just in general. He's been good since, coming off the IL, but still a guy I'm willing to play against. So, Reese Olson, I have to take a little chance on here. Olson has not been great since coming into the starting rotation. That's really where he struggled, but the season-long whip, 1.17, and you go back to when he faced the Twins earlier this year, pitched into the 6th inning, 1 run on 4 hits, 9 strikeouts. Again, I just think this is a big game for the Tigers. I like how these teams match up with each other, specifically with the Tigers, being close to the Twins and matching up well. Twins didn't max out their bullpen despite winning a couple games because they won by a wide margin. So the +1.5 probably plays here. I think the Tigers bring some momentum into this game, and I think that run is valuable, and we could see the Tigers win a 3rd straight because they just match up really well with the Twins. So Tigers +1.5. Haven't made it a client play yet, but it's certainly on my radar.
Right down there on the +1.5 for the Tigers today, taking on the Twins. And what a great segue, because two guys who are great friends in my man Bryan Power and Adam Trigger now have to go into the octagon versus each other, because we got a breakdown here from my man Bryan Power on the Twins game. And Bryan, there is a world where both of these bets can cash. So how are you looking at this Twins matchup? I just love Adam Trigger so much. I'm sorry that I have to go against. Oh, sorry. I
was so upset that Trig was against my play that I muted myself. Sorry about that. But look, you mentioned, Dan, that both those plays can cash. I hope for Trig and I's sake they do. He hit on the fact that the Twins have not matched up well with the Tigers this season, 4-6 overall. But despite the record and losing each last 2 days, they're pretty decent-sized favorites here. Trig mentioned they were bet up. And that is because of Maeda, who has been better on the road than at home. We're talking a 3.16 ERA and a 1.08 whip and 7 trips to the mound away from home. Also, lately, 2.08 ERA, 0.92 whip, last 3 starts. I just give him a big edge over Reese Olson. You're talking a 7.31 ERA and a 1.56 whip. His last 3 starts, all of those Tigers losses. Now, Detroit's offense has been better than usual the last 2 days. It's a surprise. They put 15 runs on the board. They had 17 hits alone yesterday. But still, only Oakland has scored fewer runs this season. So I'm banking on a little bit of offensive regression here from the Tigers. And Maeda, he came here. His first start off the IL was here at Comerica Park. What did he do? He tosses 5 shutout innings, a 3-hit ball. And then since then, he has not allowed more than 3 earned runs at any start. He's got a 2.47 ERA with 58 strikeouts during that time, 31 to 4 KW rate. And last time out, he dominated a D-backs lineup, which isn't very good. So I like Maeda, the form he's in. I don't like Olson at all. The Twins are obviously very lucky to be in the AL Central. They wouldn't make the playoffs in any other division. The bullpen's in good shape. If this price is too high, maybe you just lay the half run in the first 5, because I do think the big edge here is the starting pitching matchup. And one more thing, Detroit over the last month, still bottom 5 against righties and WRC+. Minnesota top 5 against that split during that time. So, yeah, I'm on the other side. Give me the Twins money line. Maybe they win by 1 run and we're all happy. Wouldn't that be great?
All right. So the comments below, hashtag Team Powers, hashtag Team Trig. Which way are we going? Or do we get the one run win and both guys catch? That's the one I'm hoping for. So both of them can stay happy here. But we will see. Twins or Tigers? That is the question of the day. The question for you, Brandon, is why do you love props so much, man? You got another prop here for the folks in Best Bets. What are you looking at?
I like them because they're winning, and I'm winning them pretty good. I'm
reason.
the number 3. Yeah, number 3 all sports profit capper the last 7 days, and that all sports is Major League Baseball pretty much. So yeah, they're winning, and I've kind of come up with a system that works, and this prop is a strikeout prop for a pitcher named Ty Blach. Blach. I think if you said it in Arabic, it would be Blach. But anyway, yeah. So when I look at strikeout props, there's 3 categories I look at. I look at how many strikeouts does the pitcher get per 9, how far does he go generally in his starts, and how often does the team that he's facing strike out. So I also look at a lot of other factors, but those are the main three. And if you look at Ty Bloch, he strikes out only 4.26 per 9 inning, which is really low. Granted, he did start out the season as a relief pitcher. He went 3 innings, 2 innings, 2, 1. So, but recently he was converted to a starter, and he's in the same situation that Littell was in. He's started 2 games. He started one against the A's where he went 5 innings, and then he started one against the Cardinals where he got blasted and taking out 2 outs into the 5th. In that Cardinals start, he got 2 strikeouts in the 4 innings, and in the A's start, he got 2 strikeouts in the 5 innings. Even as a relief pitcher, and you would expect a relief pitcher to have a higher K rate because they can expend a lot more energy because they don't have to go long into the game, whereas a starting pitcher, they have to kind of conserve their energy, kind of like a 5-round MMA fight as compared to a 3-round MMA fight. So the relief pitchers generally have a higher K rate, but he doesn't, which means he's just not a power pitcher. He's just not a strikeout pitcher. How far does he go into games? Well, this stat will be a little bit skewed because he started the season as a relief pitcher, so I don't put too much trust into that one, too much credence into that stat. But the Dodgers, how often do the Dodgers strike out? They average 7.05 strikeouts per 9 innings in the last 30 days. What's the league average? The league average is 8.71. So they are a full 1.7 strikeouts less than the league average. So Ty Bloch's strikeout prop today was 3.5, and I just don't see him getting 4 strikeouts in this game. He hasn't gotten 4 strikeouts in one outing all season, and I don't expect him to do it against the Dodgers, who strike out way, way, way below the league average. So Ty Bloch, 3.5 strikeouts under is where I'm going. This is also a 3% play that I released to clients earlier in the day. It's 10:30 p.m. here in Japan, so I released it about an hour ago. So that's where I'm going. Ty Bloch under 3.5 strikeouts.
Double unders for my man Tokyo Brandon, both on pitcher props. Check him out. He's got an MLB play up for today. As I mentioned earlier, you can get $9 Asian baseball plays. Doesn't matter if you watch them or not. All that matters are they cashing. Trig, you're going to get the last word, my man. This is a game that we heard about earlier when he was talking about pitcher props. It's the Cards and the Rays, and another run line breakdown, brother. What do you got for it?
Well, first, I sincerely hope BP and I land one. Drew and I did it there was 3 occasions where Drew and I on the hustle were head to head last year in a baseball game. One, I think, was a money line basketball game where someone took the +2, and we landed one we both hit all 3. We had a crazy run of both hitting. So I hope that happens. But as far as, so I'm going to look at the run line here again. And Dan, I was doing my research for this game, and I went down a 30-minute rabbit hole on Reddit. And I just want to ask, just put it out to the panel real quick. If anyone remembers the Matthew Liberatore trade between the Rays and the Cardinals, and this is peak Tampa Bay Rays and just how their front office plays, chess, everyone else playing checkers, that analogy. They traded Liberatore back in 2020, early 2020, to the Cardinals for Jose Martinez, who spent a day with the Cardinals during the COVID season, and then it was so bad they traded him, and now he's playing in Mexico. The guy they basically talked the Cardinals to throwing in that deal was Randy Arozarena. So just totally destroyed the Cardinals in that trade. And now look where the Rays are, and look at where the Cardinals are. That was my Reddit rabbit hole right there. And you can read more about that. But you want to talk about looking back at a trade and seeing a team get absolutely destroyed in a trade. The Cardinals got crushed in that one. But that guy, Matthew Liberatore, is back in the big leagues after getting mauled earlier this year. After getting crushed at AAA, he's now back because the Cardinals traded Jack Flaherty away. They kind of blew up their team. They're 15 games under 500. And I'm actually willing to roll the dice and back him here. But he's not the only reason. So the reason I kind of like the Cardinals, and I'm looking to back them +1.5, goes back to what I've sort of been talking about with some of these other teams this week. It's kind of what's led me to back-to-back winners with the Rockies against the run line. And it's these teams that are out of it where it's like the team's been blown up, the season's over, and now they're catching a run and a half, but they still have talent. And I feel like the Cardinals kind of fit that mold as well. And Tokyo Brandon really kind of gave a lot of the reasons why I think that in his breakdown of Littell, because there's still a lot of guys on this Cardinals roster that can hit. TV referenced Goldie's numbers against Littell are great. Lars Nootbaar comes in, he's crushing the ball. So even though we'll have to get over the fact that Matthew Liberatore has horrific numbers pretty much at the big league level, at AAA this year, I watched his start against the Twins. It wasn't terrible. He pitched into the 6th inning. The stat line looks worse than it is, the 5 earned runs, because he got dinged on like a couple homers. Like that start could have gone better for him. But I'm equally willing to play against Littell for, again, a lot of the reasons Brandon pointed out. And just the fact that I also don't really, trust him yet as a starter, which he's obviously in that role here. And his numbers, his season-long numbers, look a lot cleaner, in my opinion, than they will once he starts, he starts starting games regularly. So because of the fact that I kind of don't think there's a huge difference between the two pitchers, and I like the Cardinals lineup, I see the Cardinals in a little bit of the spoiler role here, where now the pressure's gone. Maybe that helps Liberatore out a little bit, in the sense that now he doesn't have a ton of expectations. He can kind of just go out and pitch. But either way, I just think you look at the way the Cardinals have sort of played in this series. They win yesterday. I just think there's too much talent on the Cardinals roster for them to be catching +1.5 at reasonable prices against just about anyone. So in this matchup, I'm willing to take the chances, rolling the dice here that Liberatore is going to be better, or at least because I really think the market is at the bottom on him right now. He couldn't be priced any worse. So for that reason, I think there's value here, and I think the Cardinals are still a capable enough team on a day-to-day basis to win baseball games. And so, when I add all of that up, and I'm catching the run and a half here, I just think there's a lot of value at that price. So Cardinals +1.5, best bet for the show. Would not be surprised if they won this game. And this is a game where the 1.5 could very well play. They'll get the extra at bat, and I just think it's a good bet.
Adam Trigger breaking down why he likes the +1.5 in the Cards and Rays game. And that does it here for another day game edition. Big thanks to the crew, Bryan Power, Tokyo Brandon, and Adam Trigger. You appreciate the guys. All we ask you to do, hit that like button, hit subscribe, and check them on out over at WagerTalk.com. And don't worry, you need some more actionable info, some more betting advice. Don't go anywhere. Stay right here on WagerTalk TV.